Picture yourself in the 1800s with your family. You're told you're free, but you're still treated the same as before Reconstruction.
This is JadeLogan3's podcast. Don, don, don.
We will be discussing if the slaves were really free after Reconstruction.
We have evidence on how to prove that slaves were and weren't free after Reconstruction.
The first topic we will be discussing is that the slaves weren't really free after Reconstruction due to the black codes that were enacted in the summer and fall of 1865. Even though the black codes weren't law, they only applied to persons of color, and persons of color was defined as anyone with more than 1/8 Negro in their blood.
In Section 2 of the Black Code states that every Negro freedman who shall be found on the streets of Opelousas after 10 o'clock at night without a written pass or permit from his employer shall be imprisoned and compelled to work 5 days on the public streets or pay a fine of $5.
So obviously the slaves weren't free because it says that no Negro or freedman shall be found on the streets after 10 o'clock without a written pass or permit. But in Section 3 of the Black Codes, it says no Negro or freedman shall be permitted to rent or keep a house within the limits of the town under any circumstances.
So technically, the slaves couldn't be in the town of Opelousas after 10 o'clock at night.
In Section 5 of the Black Codes, it states that no public meetings or congregations of Negroes or freedmen shall be allowed within the limits of the town of Opelousas under any circumstances.
In Section 6 of the Black Code states that no Negro or freedman shall be permitted to preach, exhort, or otherwise declaim to congregations of colored people without a special permission from the mayor or president of the police.
So Sections 5 and 6 go together because obviously they can't have public meetings or congregations if they aren't permitted to preach, exhort, or declaim to congregations of colored people. Our next discussion will be proving that the slaves were free during Reconstruction due to the 15th Amendment.
The 15th Amendment states that every U.S. citizen shall not be denied by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition.
In our next discussion, we will be talking about a quote by Houston Hartfield Holloway that proves that the slaves were not free. He said, "For we colored people did not know how to be free, and the white people did not know how to have a free colored person about them."
This states that white people did not know how to treat or be around the freed slaves. Therefore, the slaves were treated the same as during slavery.
Our next discussion will be on the 13th Amendment that states that the slaves were free.
The 13th Amendment states that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime, shall exist within the United States.
So basically what it's saying is that you can't just have a slave because you're lazy, but if they were to commit a crime or do something wrong, you could use them as a slave. Our next topic we'll be discussing is that slaves were free during Reconstruction because 17 African Americans were elected to the United States Congress from southern states between 1870 and 1877.
We will be talking about 6 out of the 17 African Americans that were elected to the United States Congress during Reconstruction.
Blanche Bruce, a U.S. Senator who originated from Mississippi, was elected during 1875 to 1881. Robert DeLarge was a U.S. Representative who originated in South Carolina and was elected from 1871 to 1873. Jefferson Long was a U.S. Representative who originated in Georgia and was elected in 1871. Joseph Rainey, a U.S. Representative who originated in South Carolina, was elected from 1870 to 1879. Benjamin Turner, a U.S. Representative who originated in Alabama, was elected from 1871 to 1873. Josiah Walls, a U.S. Representative who originated in Florida, was elected in 1871 to 1876.
Former slave Henry Adams made this statement to the U.S. Senate in 1880. "In September, I asked the boss to let me go to Shreveport. He said, 'All right, when will you come back?' I told him next week. He said, 'You had better carry a pass.' I said, 'I will see whether I am free by going without a pass.'"
So with that part of the statement that Henry Adams just made, it relates back to the Black Codes where people had to have a pass with them anytime that they were out and about town. In another part of Henry Adams' statement, it proves that the slaves weren't free. He says, "During the same week that Madam taken a stick and beat one of the young colored girls, who was about 15 years of age and who was my sister, and split her back. The boss came the next day to take this same girl, my sister, and whipped her nearly to death, but in the contracts he was to hit no one anymore. After the whipping, a large number of young colored people taken a notion to leave. On the 18th of September, I and 11 men and boys left that place and started for Shreveport. I had my horse along. My brother was riding him, and all of our things was packed on him. Out come about 40 armed men, white, and shot us taking my horse. Said they were going to kill every nigger they ever found leaving their masters, and taking all of our clothes and bed clothing and money. I had to work away to get a white man to get my horse.
So, obviously, what Henry Adams is saying is that the slaves still weren't free and that they still had many challenges in life that they had to face every day. In conclusion, I guess I would have to say that I'm still very lenient about this topic. We had lots of evidence that proved that they were free, but also a lot that proved that they weren't. One thing that still really stands out to me, proving that the slaves weren't free, are the black coats. Even though they weren't law, they were enforced so highly, they were treated like a law. On the other hand, I would have to say that having some of the African Americans elected into Congress also proves that they're advancing and that they are becoming part of the society and that they aren't slaves anymore. Jade and I both really enjoyed this project. We got to learn so much more about what the African Americans had to go through and what they had to face during such a long period of time. It's so different to think about how we treat African Americans nowadays compared to how they were treated a long time ago. I hope you like our podcast on if the slaves were really free during Reconstruction.